Hey, good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome to the Volquest Mailbag Podcast, presented by Exterior Home Solutions, local and trusted since 1999. That phone number, 865-524-5888. Online, exteriorhomesolutions.com. Busy mailbag show coming up. We got some recruiting questions. We got some spring football questions. The majority of your questions here this morning have to do with Tennessee basketball, and why not? On to the Sweet 16 for the third straight year. Round number 3 against Kentucky coming up on Friday night. Having said all that, we will start with football, though, and we'll go to Carry the Fight 42. Simple question: does Josh Heupel's tempo return in 2025?
I think to a degree. I don't think we're ever going to see it as fast as we saw it his first 2 years. I think rules have changed that with the sideline out of bounds deal and marking the ball for play. I think officials are probably slowing the game down a little bit as well. So I do think they want to play with tempo. If we get the injury stuff tweaked a little bit, that might help it as well. I think what's got to return for Josh Heupel's offense, Austin Price, is explosive plays. That's the deal. It's not necessarily about. I mean, tempo is important, but it's you got to get more chunk plays than what they've got in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But the way teams are defending them, are they taking those chunk plays away? And Josh Heupel is patient enough just to sit there and hand it off, even when he's not wanting to be patient. Can they do something to change how teams defend them, which would allow them to be able to take, more vertical shots? A year ago, Tennessee made some big plays, even in games where they struggled. I mean, you go back to the Arkansas game, the pass down to Dante Thornton there at the end on that last drive. Now, they were going to have to take a deep shot there. They were still able to pull it off when Arkansas knew they were trying to get vertically down the field. They took vertical shots, against Alabama, the long pass down the sideline to Thornton. They've got to figure out a way to get more explosive plays. It doesn't have to be 80 yards, but it's got to be 30 and 40-yard chunks. They can't 6 yards, 7 yards. That stuff, it can be effective, but it's much more of a long, drawn-out process.
PortCityVol, towards the end of the UCLA game, the Vols were sloppy with the basketball when facing a full-court press. Do you think this team struggles handling a full-court press or just lost its edge after building an insurmountable lead? And do you think Kentucky will implement a full-court press early in the game on Friday, Grant?
I would, if I was Kentucky, I would try to press a little bit because Tennessee turned it over 18 times against UCLA. I think part of the problem the other night was there was zero feeling in that gym that UCLA is going to come back and win that basketball game. When Tennessee got up 15-16, when UCLA had scored 37 points, whatever it was, for the first time in any of those round of 2 games that I've watched during the Barnes era, you knew that Tennessee was winning that basketball game, and there's no chance that UCLA is going to come back and find a way to win it. So if I felt that, I'm sure that feeling was felt a little bit on the court. I don't think that's losing your edge. I think that's just knowing you're in control of a basketball game, and it's a different story if it's a possession game, if it's close, if you think the other team can come back and win it. But you know what? Tennessee's had turnover issues. It's been a problem early in games down the stretch here in the regular season where they've turned it over a couple times in the first 4 minutes, and it's cost them. So they got to clean it up there. But I don't think they're losing their edge. I don't think they struggle to handle a press. They just need to clean it up just a little bit.
I think it's just sports. It's just like when a guy gets a big lead in golf and then down the stretch makes a couple of just silly bogeys because he knows he's not going to lose, or a football team, gets up early and then all of a sudden just kind of coasts after that, in the second half and kind of gets – and once you kind of get going the other direction, it's hard to just flip it back on. So I think Grant's exactly right. I think it's just, time and place sports and kind of just how it went.
It was also about 11:45 Eastern time when they started turning the basketball over. Maybe they were just sleepy like everybody else. And it was about a half-full Rupp Arena, so it is what it is.
And – you led by 19 with 5:05 left in the game.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Nobody was coming back and winning that game. Mtvols, most concerning position group on offense this year. Same for defense.
I know there's going to be a lot of talk about the receivers. For me, it's the offensive line because you got 4 new starters. I mean, I just got to see what they look like. So, I mean, can you protect the quarterback? If you can protect the quarterback, then obviously you got a lot of focus on the wide receivers. But for me, it starts with what they can do up front in the line of scrimmage.
I'm going running backs. I like what they have, but to me, it's the one group. I'm bullish on the receivers. I just think they're going to be better, but you're not going to know it until you play. And I'm bullish on the 2 guards they brought in. I think Lance Hurd will be better in year 2. So I do think Hubbs brings up a good point. The continuity of the different 5. Who's your center going to be? Is it Satterwhite or is it somebody else? And then right tackle. But for me, just to be different from Brent, I would go running back's one that I'm a little more, I want to see that group more.
Yeah, to be different from both of you guys, and you guys both brought it up, I mean, I would say wide receiver. Like, you're bullish on the receivers. I'm bullish on the offensive line. I recognize you're replacing 4 starters, and that's not nothing. I mean, for the first time, you're not having Cooper May snap the football. I mean, those are big deals. But I like you. I like those 2 guards. They're going to be plug and play. They played a whole lot of football. I think Lance Hurd's going to be healthier this year. He should be. I don't think you're going to have part-time. I mean, maybe you do, okay? But like last year, you had 2 part-time players playing right tackle. Like, that's not normal. I think that they got to work to get continuity and all that. I agree, but I'm bullish on the offensive line. I think it can be better, especially in pass pro. Defensively, Brent.
Well, I think it's just the secondary, in general. I mean, I like Grant. I like Boo Carter. I think Farouk probably can be a good player. He's not generated a ton of buzz yet through spring. We'll see how he does in scrimmage. But, your best player is coming off a torn ACL, and we don't know when he'll be back. So, and the game changed for them defensively last year because of what they could do in the secondary with those corners. So, I guess I'll go secondary there with probably interior defensive lineman being my second.
I sat here while y'all were talking about offense, trying to figure out what I was going to go with on defense. I think that's a good thing that you're having to kind of struggle to figure out which groups you're worried about. I think I would agree with secondary just because of the Jamal McCoy coming off the ACL and just some new guys that you're going to have to. I mean, they had to start over last year in the secondary with a lot of new guys, and it worked out just fine. So I think the fact that there's not that much concern, at least for me personally, on any specific group on defense speaks well to this group and what they've got.
Jacksonville 24. Any updates on the open dates from the Nebraska cancellation?
I think there's movement there. I think they're trying to move, getting closer to having, I don't want to say anything finalized, but I think moving towards getting something done. Again, the whole priority for this has been to do a home and home. It's not to do neutral site games. So I think that's been the entire focus, and we'll see what they can get done if they can get it done. But it feels like that there's some movement there. There's certainly been some discussions there, and all the discussions have been about a home and home series with somebody, Power 4 opponent.
Home and home with Carson Newman?
No, Power 4 opponent.
I don't think that would make the season ticket holders very happy if you're not.
Yeah, but they can honor you. They can honor you at the Carson Newman game.
Well, it's funny, a couple times already this year in baseball, Tennessee's played 2 teams for those formerly in the South Atlantic Conference when I was at Carson Newman. So you never know. The last night against Queens, you never know.
Were you disappointed you didn't get to throw out the first pitch?
I was disappointed I wasn't asked.
Eric Cain not at the ballpark.
I just want to be appreciated.
Eric Cain bobblehead night.
Grant Ramey was probably in attendance. I threw out the first pitch at the K-Mets game one time back in 2018.
I was not in attendance, I promise you.
Well,
I can assure you.
You threw out the first pitch at a K-Mets game?
Heck yeah.
Weren't you the play-by-play guy?
Yeah, 2 seasons in a row. That's like a record for minor league, all right? Especially at rookie level.
We're going to get you on those Vol broadcasts over there for baseball on the SEC Network Plus.
I would love to. I would love to do a couple of those games next year. We'll have to see if I can.
I think you're busy during games.
Yeah, I could spare a Tuesday, I feel like, right?
Really.
Just make something up. Your boss will never know.
He missed a scrimmage just one of the games.
Yeah, I missed all the scrimmages, right? Let's go to Pine. In light of Lamont Butler's comments the other day, Grant, who were some of the better trash talkers for Tennessee that you can remember on or off the court?
Zakai Ziegler. That dude is a 5'9" bully. There's stuff that I've heard that he has said on the court that I cannot repeat in public, that the statute of limitations will never run out on, because it's insane. And if it'll make people feel better, he bullies the media as well. He makes fun of us for balding and all this other stuff. So that dude is a walking 5'9" bully. Best trash talker I've ever heard.
On the football side of things, I mean, Al Wilson was as good as they come. I mean, in '98, he stood across the line of scrimmage and barked at Quincy Carter for 4 quarters of football. He talked a tremendous amount of junk. I tell you another one who in football was a loud chirper was Cedric Wilson. Cedric Wilson, he was and sometimes it's kind of the smaller guys who are the great trash talkers. And he was a guy who chirped. He chirped to his teammates on the practice field. He chirped to the other teams, everything else. I mean, I'll never forget. This was in, I don't know, probably 97, somewhere in there. I guess whenever Cedric was a freshman, it might have been 96. He caught a ball in some, I guess it was 7-on-7 work. I don't even think it was 11-on-11. He caught a ball and got up and flipped it at somebody and was chirping and went over to the sidelines. And he was still chirping about how great he was and everything else. Al Wilson was on a knee. And they used to have these dollies that had water bottles attached to it. They had milk crates on top of them. They threw Gatorades in the milk crates. Al Wilson reaches in, grabs a full Gatorade out of the milk crate, and just ear holes Cedric Wilson with it on the sideline. Just absolutely at 15 yards probably, just ear holed him with this Gatorade. About knocked him out. And that did shut Cedric down for a little while because Al Wilson had enough. It was about 100 degrees outside, and Cedric had not stopped talking for about 30 minutes, and Al had enough, so he ear-holed him with a Gatorade can. It's like, oh, okay, that'll be enough of that. So he was a good trash. I mean, Al was a great trash talker. Cedric was a great trash talker. Those are two guys that you could from start to finish, they were pretty relentless.
There's a pretty funny, pretty infamous story about Dalton Connect when he got here from Northern Colorado, and basically like one of his first or second workouts at Pratt, like he was, I don't know, scoring against walk-ons or something, and his new teammates were around. I think Josiah Jordan James was on the bench watching it happen or something. He said, "That's great, like, but you're not going to do that against us." And he basically said, "Put your money up and let's see it." And that's what Dalton said to Josiah, and his scholarship teammates started defending him. He kept scoring, and he just kept flashing the Johnny Manziel money sign, like, "Give me your money." Like he's trash talking his own teammates, his new teammates, the second he got here.
That you don't even really know at the time. That's good.
Right. His confidence was there from the start.
Well, that goes for Boo Carter as well, because when he arrived as an early enrollee, he was going through one of those early practices and was running his mouth. And one of the veterans looked at him and said, "You don't want that smoke." And Boo, in his own way, said, "I am the smoke." Exactly like that. Just imagine making it a little more colorful. And yeah, I mean, that's who Boo Carter is. I mean, like Boo's the most uber confident guy. Dalton, even though probably a pretty like low key guy off the court, is anything but like when he gets going out there, you know. And so, I mean, you know, I just want to know, Hubs, who have you ear-holed?
I've not ear-holed anybody. Are you kidding me?
That's not true.
Who was I going to ear-hole?
Ear-holed me the other day. I mean,
all 105 pounds of me. Who was I ear-holding?
How many times have you wanted to ear-hole your staff over the years?
I've only hung up on Austin like 3 or 4 times in mid-conversation. So, I mean, but that's not really ear-holding anybody. That's just hanging up.
And then he calls back 2 hours later. "Hey, man, sorry. I was having a bad day."
Sometimes I have bad days.
You don't have to use your imagination much in baseball to know who, at least recently, the trash talkers have been. Drew Gilbert is up there. Christian Moore is up there. Liam Doyle on this team is very much up there. I don't think Andrew Fisher talks much trash, but as we saw at Alabama, I mean, he carries a certain, I guess the word would be swag with him to the ball.
Who's the least, like, who's the one guy where you're like, there's no way that guy ever talked trash? For me, it would be Steve Hamer. Like, I can't imagine Steve Hamer talking trash.
John Wilkerson.
That's different. I mean, players. Like, Steve Hamer's like the most gentle, nice human being there's ever been.
Chaz Lanier. You cannot catch Chaz Lanier.
I agree with that one too.
Not smiling and just being like, gee, gosh, great game, all this stuff. Like
Ollie G. Whitaker's guy.
Yeah, like that's Chaz. Like easy smiling all the time.
I mean, not that he's not a competitor, because you know he is, but he just hadn't pitched much in the last 2 years. AJ Russell, I mean, the dude is always smiling, always being so nice. I couldn't see him talking trash. Oh, that's a good question. Let's go to Smoky Man 15. You're the OC. What tweaks do we see right off the bat?
Passes to running backs out of the backfield, and receivers catching the ball on the move, going parallel or away from the line of scrimmage, instead of running a 12-yard hitch and you come back 6 yards to catch the ball and get tackled. So that's my tweaks as the offensive coordinator. I watched enough football this fall that I think you got to hit receivers on the move, Grant. I think you got to hit the backs out of the backfield at whatever level of football you're playing. We see it in the NFL. We're seeing it in college as well.
Yeah, Joey. Yeah, we'll send over his tweaks. Yeah. You let Latrell know as well.
Hey, just tell him. I mean, Hubs is just a booth over if he ever needs.
There's just one piece of glass separating you and me.
And Alex Golish has proven we can talk through that glass. We can hear. So.
Can we tell the story about Pat Ryan? Can we officially tell that story? He's gone.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah, we can tell that story.
Tell the story. It's the greatest story of all time.
I don't even remember what game it was now, but it was
the Sisters of
it was a drag on, like, get this thing over with type game, right?
I've been like UTC.
Like we've had enough here, and Pat Ryan reaches over and taps the glass to the coach's booth, and like people's heads are turning, like, what's going on? And Pat gives them the "let's wrap this up" signal. It's time to go home and get out of here. And we're all like, I'm not really sure you probably should do that, but he did.
No more laying down on extra points, guys. Let's go.
He's just like, can we go home, please? Can we get this thing over with?
Wasn't it Halsley that was like,
I don't remember who it was, and I don't remember the game, but it was just like, he was just like, let's go home. Let's end this thing already. And everybody's had that feeling at some point, right?
I think it was Joey. I think Golish was gone. I think it was the Joe Milton year.
It might have been. I don't remember which year it was, but he's the only broadcaster I've ever seen tap the coach's glass. Now, I've heard of some broadcasters going into coaches' booths during games, particularly at the high school level, and telling them what they ought to be doing.
I've seen that a couple months ago.
I've only that's the only time I've ever seen a color guy tap on the glass and tell a coach what to do.
When you're best friends with the guys that are coaching, that are slowing us down, getting off the air, and it's like let's go. Like, stop doing what you're doing. Like, why did you not go for 2 to get to the 30-point deal so we can get out of here? Even at 29.
Nobody ever understands the hard out times. It's like, okay, you got to get out by this time, or you got to stretch for another 45 minutes, and nobody wants to stretch for another 45 minutes. Also, you know what that tells me? It tells me that, our boy doesn't watch any Tony Vitello Tennessee baseball games because he would absolutely hate the 2 pitching changes in the 9th inning to finish out a game.
How about Tony Vitello? Like, hey, thankfully they didn't play the run rule. They didn't want to do the run rule last night. I'm only going to schedule teams that will not do the run rule.
Typical Tony Vitello.
We've lost 3 games? He said he lost 3 games this year because of the run rule.
Said he's lost 2 games. He said he's lost like. And I mean, what he's saying is, I mean, he's right. Like, for pitching and stuff, I get it. But, like, leave it to Tony Vitello to bring up the run rule and go on a rant about the run rule on a night where the game didn't end in run rule.
And he's basically complaining about a schedule that he made, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's just play ETSU every week. Once in
Absolutely.
John City, once in Knoxville. We'll just rotate until SEC plays.
Hey, big rivalry game coming up next week, baby, midweek. You know it. Time for a little Tennessee Tech. Yeah, I think that is next week.
Get out the wooden bats, right?
It is next week, yeah.
All
right, let's move on. Speaking of baseball, we'll go to Bigun. If Antigua continues to improve at the plate, is he the odd man out in the lineup when Gavin returns? Or is he still the odd man out in the lineup when Gavin Keelan returns? I mean, this is no disrespect to Ariel, but I mean, I got to see a little bit of consistency. He had a great weekend in Tuscaloosa, man. He started that rally on Friday night with that, was it 4-run 8th or whatever it was, that single. That was after he was 0 for 3 at the plate with 2 strikeouts and a pop out in foul territory. I mean, that's about the worst stat line you could possibly have as a hitter. He did that. He had 3 hits, scored a couple of runs on Saturday. We know what he does defensively. So, I mean, that was great. Tuesday night, I think he was 0 for 4 with a couple of strikeouts. So, can we see some consistency? So, until then, I would say probably yes. I mean, Dean Curley's going to play somewhere. Gavin Keelan's, of course, going to play somewhere. Manny Marin has been your other infielder, whether it's at third or second. So I think everybody wants Ariel to play, but we just got to find some consistency. But what we saw last weekend was great, and so I hope that I hope he continues to hit well. Let's go to Athrun. What records will Zakai Ziegler leave Tennessee holding?
Career assists. He already holds that. He broke that, I guess, against Wofford, the first round NCAA tournament. Single season assist. He broke that in the SEC tournament. Johnny Darden's career record stood for 40-something years, maybe 50 years. I think Zakai's record, given college basketball, is what it is at this point. Not a lot of 4-year guys sticking around and playing 4 years at a school. So I doubt that.
How many guys have been 2-time Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah, that's true. Probably Jarvis Bernardo was a 3-time SEC Player of the Year. I don't think Tennessee's ever had a 2-time like Zakai. That'll be a record that's going to be hard to top. But single season assists and also wins for a 4-year player. Him and Jemiah will share that record as well.
Hey, Grant, where is he with the all-time SEC assist record? I know Sean Tuohy's there, and I think there's one other. Where does he stand in that?
I think he might be third or second, and I think he's tracking down Sean Tuohy, of all people. Who would have known? That's a good trivia question for who's the career SEC assist leader.
But
I don't know
more assists than he'll have the single season over Tuohy, right?
I can't remember, to be honest. We were looking that up the other day, but I can't remember career versus single season and
Gotcha.
where Zakai stands on both. But he is in the neighborhood of both, and if they keep playing, then he could certainly probably reach those.
Which of the freshman wide receivers look to get on the field the most this year? Austin, there's only two, right? I mean, it's Darius Jackson, Travis Smith, and they're both probably going to have to play.
Well, I mean, no Joakim Dodson. He's not here.
Yeah, he's not here
right now. So, not being able to go through spring is a blow. But those guys are going to have a chance to really take advantage of some low numbers and some high opportunities over the next couple of weeks, and they need to. Like Travis Smith needs to take advantage of it, and certainly feels like he's doing that. Darius Jackson has got to take advantage of it. Now, what do they look like when they get to the scrimmage on Monday, Hubs? It's easy to go through routes on air and maybe do a little, team type stuff in the form of a practice. But even then, they're not going up against Ricky Gibson a lot. Like what do they look like when they're going against, older veteran guys at corner?
Well, and I don't think it's just as much that. I thought Braylon Staley gave a great quote when he met with the media earlier this week, just about how hard it was to learn how to adjust to defenses on the fly. And because of the tempo you're playing at, you're trying to get lined up fast, what you're trying to do, and just the challenge that you have there.
Yep.
So, Travis Smith met the media, Eric, the first week of spring, and he's, yeah, man, I'm great with the offense. Wait a minute now. You're good with the offense when there's a stop in action between reps. Like, let's see what you look like. And I'm not knocking Travis, but it's, you're going to get onto the field with no coach out there telling you what to do, and it's real fast, and it's going to be really fast. We'll see what those guys can do, not just against competition that they're going to go against, but just how do they operate? How many mistakes do they make because the game's too fast for them between snaps and that type of thing? We'll see. But because of numbers, those guys are going to play. They're going to play more than Mike Matthews' 177 snaps last year, just because they just don't have the numbers. I think you're going to have to play those guys. Yeah,
and talking about trash talker, Travis Smith said he's been doing a little bit of talking to begin spring practice. Again, that was week 1. I wonder if he's still talking here in week 3.
Eric, you're right about Zakai. He is tied with Sean Tuohy right now for the single season, but he's not catching in. Sean Tuohy's got 830 for his career, and Zakai's got 7 something, so he's not going to catch that one.
So he could finish second in the career and have the single season.
He will have the single season. You would assume at some point Friday night, but he's not catching the career.
And that single season record will be hard. Could be contested, but would be hard. I think the interesting thing, and I know we got to move into other questions, is to break Johnny Darden's record. No one has even sniffed at that record in their time at Tennessee. So C.J. Watson was at like 537 or something like that. That was the closest to it.
Right.
So that record at Tennessee is never going to get touched, in my opinion.
And it's the same.
Career marks are going to be hard because nobody's going to stay long enough.
It's the same thing with Chaz and the 3-point record. Like Chris often held the record in second and third or whatever it was. It was like 118, 116, 106. It was a big deal in 2022 when Santi hit 100 threes I think he finished with 102 in 2021-22. And that was a big deal because he was the only third Tennessee player, or maybe the second, to go over 100 threes in a single season.
Yeah,
and Chaz is sitting on 120, I believe it is, going into the Sweet 16 Friday night.
Do you see any freshman running backs seeing time this year, Austin?
I mean, as of right now, I would tell you DeJuan Morris would be that guy. But I mean, you just never know how it plays out, right? I mean, like what a kid's doing, 5 practices in the spring versus what he's doing 10 practices in the fall camp could be two totally different things. So, we'll see, between the two of them right now, I would tell you DeJuan Morris, but obviously that could change. We'll see. Again, they've got several backs. And so, even for one of those guys to get playing time, that means they're going to have to be pretty good.
Yeah, I think Star Thomas is the X factor in that running back room. Where does he factor into things? So what is his role with this team? I think that dictates what the freshmen look like too.
Yep.
Last one here from Athrun. How are the freshman young defensive backs looking? I think we'll learn more about that right after the scrimmage, right?
Yeah, I don't have Willie Martinez is going to meet with the media later today, but I don't have enough comment or enough seeing of those guys to know. I'll be curious to see what the vibe of those guys are coming out of the scrimmage, because they've got to find a backup nickel guy or star position guy. Who is that going to be? That's what I'm curious to say. I think one of the interesting things coming out of this scrimmage is, while all the talk's going to be about wide receivers, it's what DBs show up. Where do they show up at safety? Where do they show up at backup nickel? What does that corner position look like? How does Jalen McMurray play there? You feel pretty good about him, but just sort of what do those young guys do? What will be interesting to hear about.
Got plenty more questions to get to, but first let's get a word from our presenting sponsor, Exterior Home Solutions.
It's one of those phone calls that you hate to get from your kids. Hey, Dad, a tree fell on my house. Well, we got that call a couple of weeks back from our daughter at her house here, and the first call that I made was to Exterior Home Solutions. The peace of mind that they gave me and us as a family when they came out here and came up with a plan, got us connected with the right people, is absolutely priceless. Use the same people that I use. In that time of need, Exterior Home Solutions.
That phone number for Exterior Home Solutions, 865-524-5888. You can check them out online at exteriorhomesolutions.com. Go to Sam Smith 2233. Grant Ramey, do we see Tennessee do anything differently than normal defensively on Friday night to try to slow down the Cats, or just stick to the bread and butter?
It's probably not a popular answer, but no, I don't think you do anything drastically differently. Also not a popular answer. Tennessee didn't lose because of the way Kentucky shot the three-point ball in those two games during the regular season. Tennessee went 11 for 45 from the three-point line in the first game. They went 3 for 18 at Rupp. If you're shooting that poorly, it's going to be hard to win. You do need to be better defensively, especially at the three-point line. You have the number 1 ranked three-point defense, and it should look that way. So they're going to have to play better there against Kentucky in round 3. But at the same time, Chaz didn't play well in that first game. The second game. I can't remember really what he did the first game. They didn't shoot well. They got to shoot it better. They've been shooting it better. They were 11 for 22 from 3 against UCLA. They hit 10 threes against Wofford. Chaz has scored it really well since the start of postseason play. Jordan Gainey's been better. Sakai Ziegler's been better. So they have to adjust in other ways, I think, offensively to continue what they're doing, really based on it, versus the first 2 games against Kentucky in the regular season. Just play better in other areas, and I don't think you have to worry about the three-point line as much.
Grant, I'm curious for you. I mean, they haven't won every game, but they offensively, Tennessee has been different since that loss in Rupp Arena. What has been the difference? I mean, has there been anything other than, hey, they just made more shots? Is it that they've got the ball in the paint more, created more inside-out stuff? What do you think's led to their kind of jump start offensively since that closing 5 minutes at Rupp, which was really poor and cost them that game?
Maybe just more consistency, just guys hitting shots that they know can hit shots that weren't hitting shots at points in times when this offense was struggling. I mean, and you're right, it's kind of been strange because especially since maybe the last week of the regular season and the start of postseason play, the defensive efficiency numbers have dropped. They were number 1 for weeks in KenPom defense, and now they're number 3, and the offense has continued to go up. They've been as low as the mid 30s, and they're up to number 17, I believe, going into the Sweet 16, and that might be as high as they've been consistently for days on end all season. So it's I don't know if schematically anything's differently other than they have guys that they believe can hit shots, and they've started to do that consistently. Jordan Gainey's been really good off the bench, production scorer off the bench, and Chaz has been really good the last few weeks, probably at his best the last couple of weeks. And Ziegler's been pretty consistent too. Ever since he kind of came back from that knee injury that he suffered in the first game against Kentucky, he's been a better scorer since then, a better shooter. Numbers-wise, has kind of reflected more like his career numbers versus what he did the first half of the season.
Getting the trip to the warm Columbia, do we see Tennessee start experimenting with the DH spot? I think you've already seen that, right? I mean, you saw Dalton Bargo come in as a pinch hitter for Levi Clark midway through the second game in Tuscaloosa, and he went off. He got the start there in Saturday's game. Now, I'm not saying give up on Clark. He's so talented. Continue to try to give him opportunities to work through that. But right now, Dalton Bargo is hitting really well for you. So I think Dalton Bargo is going to get some looks at DH. Tony wants to play Chris Newstrom so bad. I'm not saying that he will, but if Chris Newstrom's in the lineup somewhere, does that bump somebody to DH, even with Gavin Keelan out? I don't know. Blake Grimmer, I'm not saying he's going to get a ton of ABs moving forward, but just like Braden Krenzel last week, he showed out, got an opportunity on the weekend. Blake Grimmer has, 7 ABs, 3 hits, 3 home runs, 4 hits, 3 home runs. I mean, dude is doing everything he can when he's given the opportunity, and he had a big game on Tuesday night. So, he was the DH in that game. So, to answer your question, yes, I think they're already experimenting with the DH, but I don't think you just give up on Levi Clark. He's going through it right now, but there's so much talent there, and he's got to work himself through that. Let's go to Volken. Who were some of the greatest raw athletes you've seen come through Knoxville in any sport? Not just the greatest players necessarily, but just freakish athletes, and feel free to share any behind-the-scenes freak stories.
I mean, as a tight end, Dustin Moore is one of the biggest athletic freaks that I've covered. Probably from a football standpoint, athletic freak that the stories are legendary about is Dale Carter. Dale Carter could have done anything he wanted to do. Eric Berry was obviously a terrific athlete, but I mean, Dale Carter he never got tired. He didn't need rest. He was a handful in so many ways, but I mean, could have played wide receiver, played defensive back, played safety, could have played outside linebacker, could have done anything you wanted him to do. Could have played running back. I mean, he was a freak athlete. Cordell Patterson is a freak athlete for sure. So those are a few there. On the basketball front, for me, Yves Pond's one of the greatest athletes I've seen on the basketball floor, Grant.
Yves was a freak. Yves showed up looking like a freak on day one. I mean, you just looked at him physically, and you're like, this kid's lived in the weight room for the last X number of years. And he's like, no, I never touched a weight. That's what kind of genetics he had. And the crazy thing about Yves, he was super soft-spoken and just mild-mannered. He was married for most of his Tennessee career, like living with his wife, like just doing super normal, quiet stuff. Right. And he was just an absolute freak. I mean, he would, it just didn't make sense what you were seeing with your own eyes. Like, and it went for what he looked like, how he played, like how he performed, how he could jump. It was just insane. Like, it doesn't make sense that somebody could be this genetically blessed as that dude was. He was an absolute freak.
AP, who do I miss in football?
I mean, I would have said Stanley assumed him in basketball. I thought he was athletically.
Yeah, he was a good athlete for sure.
Enough to go out and try for the football team after his 4 years in basketball. Shoot, man, I don't know. That's a great one in football. I mean,
for me, the stories will always be Dale Carter. I mean, Dale Carter being out all night, coming in, having to do morning runs, and like just basically running them in whatever he was wearing, and like never got winded, never got tired. Just like, y'all want me to keep going, or like, what do you want me to do here? I'm like, okay, Dale, you just going home. Like, he was different. I mean, he was just you're talking about a guy who played safety in college and rolled a corner in the NFL. That's a really hard transition to make. You see it go the other way, but you don't see that happen where somebody's a college corner or a college safety and ends up being an all-pro corner. I mean, to me, he's right at the top of the list. I mean, he could have been a basketball player. He could have done anything he wanted to do athletically.
What about Daniel McCullers? Guys, we're not asking him to play in space. You remember that quote?
All 370 pounds of Daniel McCullers.
We're not asking him to play in space.
Any idea how many practice three-point shots an elite player like Chaz Lanier will shoot in one day practice versus a regular player or starters like Javon Meshack? Kind of going back to your Dalton story. How many threes does a guy like Chaz take, and is that against Scout or guys against like Javon Meshack or Zakai?
Numbers-wise, I have no idea, but it's very rare to walk into the arena on a day that we're supposed to do media or watch practice, and Chaz is not putting up shots, or Zakai was today a couple hours ago, or Jordan Gainey. And usually in those settings, it's just they're just standing there shooting, and they've got rebounders, and they're putting up as many shots as they can from each spot, and they'll try to make 5 straight from each spot and go kind of around the arc and stuff like that. So I don't know numbers-wise, but it's hard to walk in here and not see somebody putting up shots with managers rebounding for them.
And those guys shoot all hours of the day. I mean,
right.
I mean, they may shoot at 11:30 at night. They may get somebody to rebound them, and they may go work out for an hour and a half. I'm not talking about during season, but I mean, with Pratt Pavilion, those guys shoot all the time.
All the time. When I taped Vol Club Confidential with Meshack and Gainey a couple of weeks ago, like they were both going back, and we taped it like 8:30 or 9 o'clock. They were both going back to Pratt to get more shots up at like 10.
Mtvols 24. UK has defended us pretty well the first 2 games, and they're usually terrible on defense. Do you think Deacon Barnes will have some new offensive wrinkles this time? Ask earlier about defensive wrinkles. Any offensive wrinkles?
No, I think this time of year you are what you are, and you stay with that. I don't think you try to reinvent the wheel in this tournament, in this setting. I mean, what Kentucky did the first game was pack the paint and basically dare Tennessee to shoot it. Tennessee couldn't make any shots. Well, if based on how Tennessee has shot it the last couple of weeks, if you dare them to shoot it this time around, Tennessee should make those shots. And it's Lucas Oil Stadium, and everybody talks about sight lines and playing basketball in a football stadium and all that stuff. That's going to be different. But obviously, both teams have to shoot in that with those sight lines and all that stuff in that setting. If they are daring you to shoot it and you're shooting it and you're not making it, then you better adjust. You better get post entries. You better get to the rim. You better get Jordan Gainey going in the mid range because he's been really good there throughout the season. So they have different ways they can go about it, but I would assume this Tennessee offense looks different just based on how it's played the last couple of weeks compared to how awful it looked at times against Kentucky during the regular season.
Appvol, need Hubs' thoughts on the NCAA wrestling. First time going. What an awesome event. Hubs needs to get this off his bucket list.
Yeah, I hope to get there someday to see it. Madness, as they call it, is a terrific event. It was in Philly, and obviously they had an iconic viral moment with Wyatt Hendrickson in the heavyweights upsetting Gabe Stevenson from Minnesota. One of the greatest upsets in sports, and I think it's cool. I know it's not for everybody. I saw somebody on a reel. It's like, why is it not mainstream? It's not mainstream because the people that are interested in it are either former wrestlers or were directly involved in the sport and know the scoring and know what's going on and recognize good defense is really like, wow, that was a great move. And it's like, well, nothing happened if you're the casual fan. So it will be hard for it to ever become real mainstream because unless you're involved in it to understand it and really have conversations with it about the sport, you don't really know what you're watching. It's kind of like watching hockey, right? There's a lot of people that will watch playoff hockey, but they don't understand why it's offsides. Wait a minute, why'd they stop this or what's that? Hockey's getting better about that. I don't know that wrestling can educate the general population to the point that it ever becomes a mainstay or something that really everybody's intrigued by. Now, it's getting great coverage. I mean, the Big Ten Network does an unbelievable job. The ACC Network does a great job with college coverage if you're a fan of it. But to get somebody to become a fan of it by just watching it on TV is a challenge.
I think we got to if we can get you out of Coreyton to go up there, we're doing it. Like let's do this. Look, we'll start a GoFundMe, get Hubs, the Madness. I'll go with you, and then you can return the favor, and we'll go to WrestleMania.
I'm not going to WrestleMania, and I don't leave Coreyton. I'm entrenched.
If we get the GoFundMe going and people pay for this trip, then you got to wear a singlet while you're there.
Got to. Non-negotiable.
You got to do some 2-minute drills in a singlet from the
Ooh.
venue.
Ooh, that's a bad image.
We're gonna
Grant.
come up with Hunt's wrestling nickname,
That's a really bad image, Grant. Well, let's move on, Cainer. We need to move from that one quickly.
Let's go here to
Quickly.
GlockVols. Cainer does the way Tony used these freshmen and how they're performing bodes well to be able to retain more top tier recruits from going to the draft. Yeah, I mean, I think Tony Vitello and his staff have proven that they have gotten the most out of some of these guys. They have developed them into highly first-round draft picks. Christian Moore, instrumental in what Garrett Crochet was a couple years ago. I mean, so on and so forth. There are other examples. But not only just getting them here and developing them over a 2 to 3 year window, but you're seeing a lot of freshmen play this year. So, I mean, that's boding even well for Tennessee. Guys like Levi Clark and Manny Marin and Jay Abernathy and Chris Newstrom and Tegan Coons, Braden Krenzel. All these guys are playing big-time roles. So, yeah, I think that will only help Tennessee and Tony Vitello in terms of recruiting and trying to keep guys out of the draft and having some more of those big wins. And Tony's reference that, this last draft cycle was really the first time that they feel like they won that draft cycle, getting all this talent to campus compared to other years. Greatest sports moment for y'all that isn't Vol related. I think back to Chris Davis kick 6, for example, just because of where I was. It can be any sport. Grant, I don't want to speak for you, but mine is when the Atlanta Braves won the World Series a couple years ago.
Yeah, and the farther we get away from that, the more I appreciate it.
Yeah.
The more I enjoy it. Yeah, that's up there. That's probably the only championship I've seen a team win that I follow. The kick 6, mentioning the kick 6 makes it hard to compare anything to that. Watching St. Peter's win and beat Kentucky and Indy in 2020, whatever year that was, 2, I think. That was crazy. Loyola beat Miami in 2018 on a buzzer beater. I was sitting there courtside watching that unfold. Was crazy. They wheeled this old lady out on the court as soon as Loyola won, and I thought, who in the world is this lady? And little did I know we were going to not stop hearing about Sister Jean for the next 2 weeks or whatever it was, 3 weeks. So, I mean, I don't know. This time of year, those kind of moments come up to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's your age. I think it's time and place. Kind of what you remember. I mean, my phone blew up Friday night. I'm watching the game, and I've got wrestling on, and I mean, like, my son went crazy when Hendrickson was a heavyweight winner, and I mean, that was as big of an upset as and again, if you don't follow the sport, it's irrelevant to you, but to put that in context of how big of an upset it was, think I mean, the guy Hendrickson beat, Gabe Stevenson, had not been taken down. He had not been taken down all year long, had not given up a takedown. He's an Olympic gold medalist, and he got upset in the final match of the NCAA championships. I mean, my phone went crazy with all my wrestling friends, including my son. Like, did you, he's calling me. Did you see this? It's going nuts. So, yeah, it's just about moments. I remember exactly where I was watching TV, watching HBO, watching Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson. He didn't know that Mike Tyson could get beat. He won that one. I mean, you got, Sid Bream, like, wheeling his way around third base to home.
Somebody said that about Dean Curley trucking around the bases earlier this weekend. I thought that was so funny.
That one. I remember the Doug Flutie Hail Mary. I mean, I was like, I didn't fully grasp at what was going on, but like, that's not a normal play, when that happens against Miami. So, I mean, I just think it's sort of where you were, context and age, AP. I mean, everybody's is going to be different. I don't know that anybody has a uniform. This was the single greatest non-Vol play or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, everybody knows I love golf. So, like, 2019 Masters, and then I think equally as good was the 2021 PGA with Phil. He was basically going to be 50 in 2 months, or basically a month later. 49 years old, had been left for dead, and then of course lost his mind and went to live. But that was fantastic. I mean, they both were just fantastic atmospheres, especially with the Phil one, because it was coming out of COVID, and I remember everybody like making such a big deal about it. Like just the massive fans that were just walking together along, that course there at the end on 18. I thought both of those were neat. Non-golf related. Sid Bream for me as a kid was pretty special. That wasn't the World Series, but the NL pennant against Pittsburgh, that was fantastic. Francisco Cabrera. I love 90s Braves. Doesn't get much better than that.
Music City Miracle. I remember where I was. Music City Miracle. Yeah. I remember where I was when Kevin Dyson was that Kevin Dyson in the Super Bowl that came up a yard short.
And now he's hired Jay Graham as his football coach at Centennial High School.
Yeah.
I had some other ones in mind. I can't remember what. I know the kick six, we were all in the press box in Lexington, the old Kentucky press box, and everybody was completely ignoring the Tennessee game that was about an hour away because of that Kentucky, that way that Auburn game was finishing. That 5 overtime Tennessee-Alabama game, me and my friends were supposed to go to a movie at like 7. I think we might have gone to like the 10 o'clock show after 5 overtimes trying to wait out that thing. So that was another one.
The James Tyrese catch in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of those you'll
Tigers chip in at 16 AP. I mean, there's a single moment.
Yeah, neat deal.
There's a ton of them. I mean, that's what makes sports great. I mean,
I wasn't. I mean, I was 3. Okay, for the '86 Masters, but I've watched that on loop on the Golf Channel with Peter Kessler and the old, all the old school Golf Channel, voices.
Vern called that one, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, correct. Ben Wright did yes sir on 15, and then Vern did it on 17. Everybody only talks about Vern, and Ben was just kind of neglected. I thought one of the coolest calls was on 16. He basically hits it stiff and he taps it in, and Jim Nance at that time was not the play-by-play guy. And he was just doing hole 16. That was it. And his call of the bear has officially come out of hibernation, I thought was corny, yes, but at the time also really neat.
You're telling me there wasn't a 3-year-old AP raising his putter? Just like Jack did.
I wasn't into golf then, man. I didn't get into golf till I was like 8th grade. But I mean, there's a lot of cool moments, man. Any of the Jordan NBA finals, especially the last one, with the shot, the whole sequence, the last 35 seconds of that game, was really cool.
Obviously, I wasn't born yet. And AP, you probably were even too little to really remember this, but correct me if I'm wrong. But I mean, Brent, I got to feel like as a kid watching Kirk Gibson's home run to walk it off in the World Series is one of those moments for sure.
I was not a Dodgers fan at that point,
but still, like it was just so.
Yeah, I mean, it was cinema, right?
Yeah.
Like here he comes.
And the call, we'll see it
in the call, and he lets it just the crowd tell the story for like a minute and a half, and I love that.
And those are the cool moments that I mean, and that was an iconic deal. And again, the thing about being the moments being right are the calls where even if the guy's losing his mind, you know exactly what happened, and that's where I'll give Mike Keith credit for the Music City Miracle. You know where the ball is the whole time. Like, what has happened, like who got the ball, Lorenzo Neal gave it to Wycheck, who threw it to Dice. Like, you knew exactly where the ball was. It was the greatest part of the kick 6 call is like they're losing their mind, but exactly what's happening as they lose their mind. And I think that's what makes for iconic sports broadcast calls. It's one thing to lose your mind, but if you lose your mind and you're not telling anybody what's happening, you're just losing your mind. It doesn't have a lasting effect. But if you're doing that and the listener understands where the ball is or what's happening as it happens, those are great calls. And I mean, the kick 6 was one, and the other one against that he's no longer with us because he died in a car accident, that the Auburn play-by-play guy had on the tip ball against Georgia.
Yeah,
there's no way to prepare for that moment, but you know exactly what happened. And you felt the energy and the excitement of what was happening, but they told you exactly what was happening. Those are great sports calls. I mean, terrific calls.
Got 3 more, so we're going to work our way through these. I know we're kind of getting late here in the show. Where are we as a university on our ability to spend NIL? Closer to the middle or the top of the pack, AP?
I mean, they're not in the middle. I would say more towards the top of the pack. Are they the top? No. I would not believe that. I would not say that to be the case. Again, my question is like, the budgets for each sport, like, with their desire to be the everything school, you're gonna spend more money on, men's basketball. You're gonna spend more money on women's basketball. You're gonna spend more money on baseball. Which ultimately, unless you're, just raking the money in and got, the old Scrooge McDuck diving in the gold, like that's going to take a little bit away from football and so to speak. I mean, potentially. So, I mean, like when you're in everything school, you got to understand, like, that lesser sports for some schools are going to get more attention here, while at other schools, they're going to go, I mean, like, think about it, like St. John's, like, they're like, go to Old Patino. I mean, like, they don't have football, so I mean, like, everything's a little bit different, but Tennessee's certainly not, hurting for NIL money. It just boils down to how bad do they want to push on this kid or that kid in each individual sport.
Volume shooter may have been answered somewhere, but at one point, both Mallory and Collins were takes. We filled one spot with Henderson. What do you do with the other spot? Put more money into the Amant bag or another portal guy? I mean, the ship has sailed on that guy, right?
Nate Ament, yeah. It feels like the ship has gone on there. It feels like he's going to be too pricey. It feels like he's Louisville or Kentucky or something like that. Louisville's put out a lot of stuff about how much they're willing to spend in this portal class. Their biggest point guard targets are going to be portal guys because they need somebody that's experienced to step in here. They're not going to ask Troy Henderson to come in here as an unsigned senior that they got in March and be the starting point guard as a freshman. So he's going to be a bit more of a multi-year kind of guy. They're going to have to target multiple guys in the portal because they have to replace so much in the backcourt, and they got to have guys that are veterans that have been here and that have done that have played at this level that can step in here and take over. I mean, they're going to have to sign wings. They're going to have to sign stretch forward. They have a lot of spots to fill. They're going to have to go to the portal for a lot of those guys.
And we're going to end with Andrew's question of the week. Got to be honest. Andrew says he likes this one. I've seen better. I don't know if we're going to like this one, guys, but I'll leave it up to you. Thoughts on pineapple being on a pizza? I say no. What do y'all say?
Delicious. Ham and pineapple.
My wife will tell you yes. Resounding yes.
Yeah.
Me, and I wouldn't eat it regardless.
I love grilled pineapple. Absolutely. I love pineapple. I don't like pineapple and cheese. I don't like the combination of pineapple.
I agree with that. So
I'm not one of these that I'm against you, Grant Ramey, because you're eating pineapple on your pizza. But for me, it doesn't move the needle because I'm not a real fruit and cheese kind of guy.
Yeah, I think the conversation is, why do people get so upset with what people put on their pizza? Like, who cares?
Agree.
Who cares about that? I don't put pineapple on it.
Why do we get upset so much? That's the question. Why are we upset?
Why are we as a society? Okay, we're not going to go down that road.
Kid from Maryland hits a buzzer beater. Everybody complains about the tournament being boring. Kid hits a buzzer beater, and they just complain about a walk.
That was not a good question. Come on, be better, Andrew.
Andrew's giving a lot of good ones, though.
He's had a lot of great ones.
So AP follows up that conversation with some hate on Andrew for his question. Well done, AP. Well done.
He's hit home run after home run. He just went full Adam Dunn. Home run, strikeout.
All right. We will end it with the Adam Dunn reference. Appreciate you guys for being here on the Mailbag Podcast. A lot of good questions here today. Big week coming up for Tennessee basketball. Sweet 16 coming up tomorrow night. Of course, the Lady Ball's in the Sweet 16. Spring practice is back right now. Recruiting never stops. Baseball is happening right now on the road again at South Carolina this weekend. All that and more for 1 week, $1. Try us out. No better coverage for Tennessee athletics than right here at Volquest.com. No better community to be a part of to talk about Tennessee athletics or, what food recommendations you have for Destin, Florida than the General's Quarters, Brent Hubbs.
Absolutely. Be sure and check us out. Great coverage all weekend long. Tons of basketball, spring football, coaches clinic. They'll practice on Saturday, scrimmage on Monday. Baseball's in Columbia, South Carolina. We're talking about it all. It's a great place to hang out. Come check us out and be a part.
Come get earholed by Brent Hubbs at Volquest.com.
Big thanks to Exterior Home Solutions for being a part of the show. Big thank you for being here. This is the Volquest Mailbag Podcast.